Evening. Good evening. I had a shower. Oh, okay.
I'm Kate. Nice to meet you. Right, so there's this is, and that's already here. That's your phone. And then Chris is gonna do Kevin Williams. Says that one of these 3 seats that are open. So
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yes.
How are you?
Yeah, we met before. Yeah, maybe. Not from there anyway.
Oh, okay.
where's the inspection? Right here. Right there. This last, that's our
Should be in your packet.
Oh, is it back?
It should be. So now we ended up with the next one. Maybe we'll have to go ahead.
6 PM. Can we get started? I'm gonna,
Luke's gonna be here and Christie will be,
And they move.
yeah, they are gonna be here soon.
let's hope.
You wanna wait?
Yeah, because Christie will do the oath.
While we're waiting for the other two, just to let everyone know, I have a 7 p.m. family commitment, I'll be leaving at 6:30, so. I guess we'll run that sometime, just to let you know.
You're not mad.
Why, I'm not mad. At that moment, I'm not mad. But I better explain this one.
Sit here,
Good idea.
And Jonathan has something he wants to talk
there.
about.
Back here.
Did some research in Douglas County. Their regular, their regulations. I'm thinking that might be a good guide for us, my guess is, extensive research. Lawrence, the independent nation.
Yeah, there's a good-sized, over 1,000-acre project under consideration in Douglas County. So Douglas County actually passed their own solar regulations about 3 years ago, either next month or May. So those are available online. I can show you where they are, page and views. I'm going to take a look at it. There's, they obviously try to address the same types of questions for us here in Jackson County. So I want to mention that to everyone. I've not gone all the way through them, but they're available for you to review and compare to what our discussion is. And maybe that will be helpful to everyone to physically see another county's action that they have to do and have adopted. No, still in development process. I'm not certain if they issued a special use permit or not. It would be required before any sort of construction.
Good evening. Can we start? Why don't we start where we left off?
We're gonna do the oath first.
Who's going to swear at us?
Christie.
Okay.
I'm swear at you.
So you're going to swear at us today? Or?
Yeah. If you guys just want to raise your hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear,
I do solemnly swear
I support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of Jackson County Planning Board member, so help me God.
of Jackson County Planning Board members, so help me God.
That there's some-
If I asked Kate to do some maps for us, it's up to the board if you want to look at these first. There's some more that I think we can look at what Kate prepared if the board wants to do that. Should we go around the table and introduce everybody? Should we go around and introduce ourselves so everybody knows?
Roll call. Chris Abernathy. Dick Light.
Jason Murphy.
David Andrews.
Ben Pruitt.
Bob.
Chris Gordon.
Jonathan Hunter.
Luke Kennedy.
13-year-old granddaughter.
Oh, yeah, that's for batteries, for that. But this, like a. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not casting. It was, actually. Yeah, it's online.
The old like it says, try some different input.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have
So let's
section
just-
5.
Huh?
We're up to section
We
5.
were clear through it. You guys just have not looked at
I didn't even look at
Article 30. You guys haven't even looked at that yet. But we got down to the very last page at the bottom, and that was the whole highlighted, pink color. All right, assuming that we're not gonna be able to. Yeah, I don't know. The map that I have there, Jonathan, if you kind of want to explain what you were asking for me to create.
What I asked, and I didn't bring my copy of that, what I'd ask is the board has discussed at least two different setbacks for the project area and project extent from the nearest roadway as well as certain structures. I wanted, and then we also discussed the maximum size of about 2,000 acres. What I wanted to find out is, let me just pardon me. What I wanted to find out is, okay, if we went with this kind of a certain setback, what would be the major, what would be the effect on that 2,000 acres? So this is that's a square mile, and Kate's using 1,000 feet in one of these two examples that she's wrong. So if our setback is, is a 1,000 feet from each of those boundaries, then obviously this is the available land in that square mile for a project. If, however, our setback is 13 feet, or some other figure, let's say 1320 setback, that shrinks the amount of available land in a square mile. So what, first question that I've asked is, okay, in the setback possibility 1, what's that available area here? And then in setback possibility 2 that we discussed, what is that available area here? So hold that thought here. If we're looking at 2,000 acres, obviously, we can get to 2,000 acres faster with a lessened setback. There's one more per square mile that would be available towards that 2,000. If we go with a greater setback, that shrinks the amount per square mile, so that would mean more square miles would need to be incorporated to reach that maximum size, if that's what the company wants to do. So in other words, if whatever that number is that we're looking at for a maximum acreage, 2,000 acres is going to be in our documents currently. A larger setback is going to be more square miles we're going to need to reach that 2,000 acres, which possibly may mean more landowners are going to be, more neighboring landowners who are not participating in the project may be affected. Does that somewhat make sense to everyone? So that's what I was looking for, is a visual interpretation of the possibilities we talked about. How many acres is in this available area in each of the options that we're discussing, and how many square miles would it take under each of these scenarios to total that maximum 2,000 acres. So that's the map that I'm actually looking for. Kate was kind enough to do these other ones, which are connected but not exactly what I was requesting. Kate, you want to explain a little bit? What you wish to read?
This shows 1,000-foot buffer around each house, or a 1320 buffer around each house. In each of those areas of Jackson County. So that's showing what's left over for the project area.
Right.
So inside the circle is the house, outside of the circle is the outside.
Outside of that site.
So you're really highlighting that 1,000 feet is way out of line, way too much. Because now you're just consuming up land. Where did the 1,000 feet come from? How did you arrive?
Well, that came from the county commission.
Came from whom?
County commissioners. The original document was prepared by the county commissioners and then submitted to us.
Right, and so we can change it.
We can change it. We did. We changed it to 1320. We added it.
Right, and I think that's unnecessary.
And that's why
I was
we're
looking at some that's twice the average of these other counties. You're going way out of the average.
That's why I wanted to conduct this county. I thought that would be a good job.
My reasoning for that is Jackson County is a rural ag community, and it was protecting the non-participating landowners from having to live right next to it or be right next to it.
What's the setback for a feed or a feedlot?
That's an ag use.
I'm glad you went there, because right off the bat, one of the things that I find disturbing is we keep saying ag use. Solar panels are an ag use. It's a new modern ag use, but it literally is using the sun to gather and make money or make crops, and so I think it makes us look in a bad position that we keep saying that it's some non-ag use. I mean, that's why we're trying to use it this way.
But
As a technical guy, it doesn't. I have trouble with the word.
I get it, and there is land in this county that can meet those setbacks, and we don't have to worry about the non-participating land. But that's again,
That's what's shown here.
I've got a garbage pile 75 feet from my house. The neighbor piled up all he cleared his pasture, piled it up alongside his fence road, right across from my driveway. He doesn't have to worry about his big set off, and I don't know. And I noticed there's a lot of feedlots in my area, that they're right up on the fence. I just think that that's being way out of line for youth land use. It's not, there you go, not efficient use. So we're trying to not be efficient to appease some people, few people. Have we done any polling? Have solid numbers from the I'm afraid that we're using up land, excessive land, with excessive setbacks for a few people. Period.
Well, I don't think we're gonna come to finalization of this project until we've gotten all the way through it, made those recommendations we think need to be made, then go into public comment. Have a number of people who have filled out the forms and make public comment. And I think before we come up with a final document, we should give them all a chance to express their opinions.
No, we have to finalize the draft and then present that to the public. That's the way it has to work. So we can't take comments before we have finished this and
Right,
then we present that.
That's what I said. Let's finish this. Then we'll have a document, your plan was, get a document to submit to the public.
Yes.
So they can then review it to see if we have satisfied some of their comments or not satisfied, right?
And then as a board at that point, that could make further changes as it wishes after.
Sure.
So I read the comments, and some people were referring to the local code. So this hasn't been published. Some of the comments referred to,
The original, the draft that we got originally from the county commission has been, it's out there in the public. If anybody wanted to see it, see it.
okay.
Okay, I think we're up to RE, Renewable Energy Conversion Systems, RECS's overlay district. Section 1, page 31 on mine.
I had a previous, I guess I had a couple questions about before, just bring that up now and bring that later.
Yeah, see, that's right. I read this, I read all the comments.
So this is limited scale solar, is this continuous acres, 20 continuous acres? On page 2,
That would be the size of the array.
continuous, that's the word,
Well,
it's contiguous, I just didn't know if that was something.
contiguous is
Continuous, okay.
connected.
Oh, yeah.
Contiguous and continuous are not the same, but contiguous is
Everything's
all
together.
connected.
Okay. And then, note number C on page 3, that's the one you're talking about, represents the 2,000 acre. That's right, Ms. Slater, sorry, I just, I make sure I understand.
Yes. We've got copies of the.
Now, I think 14 is a definition wrong. Solar module is the same as a solar
I
panel.
just have that on my computer.
What page are you on?
Same page on 14, application.
You can get your printed copy.
From page 30.
You have a copy.
What do you want?
David needs a copy of
I think I
the
got it off the
regulations.
Yeah, oh, so you printed it out.
Yeah.
I kind of thought they might have, that would be part of this.
Since I can't get this up on the screen, I'm gonna have Jamie go up and print off 9 copies of the current working draft.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
That's-
see it. I'm sorry.
Everything,
Well, and also, if you've seen the original, we've already made changes to
Did
the
I highlight
original.
this out and everything?
this is the working draft, this is the current working draft that you got offline. So that's where everybody is.
Okay.
Okay, so you got it updated.
Why don't you print it in colors so we can.
Right.
No, it's, gonna be tough for you to catch up.
Yeah, I'm trying best I can, and I'm not trying to read that, I just wanna make sure that there's.
Oh, I think we should be reinventing some of that, like that, 1,000 feet. And making a statement. Oh, you think we're making it more complex than it needs to be? Would be my general.
Well, and with all due respect, that was what the 5 of us or the 6 of us that were here at the time were comfortable with. And so if that's not going to work, then we would have to vote on that and how that, because that's what we decided that we were going to accept. And so I understand, one person to come in and say that's not enough, we're still going to have to vote because now we are 9 and not 5.
Well, I feel a little better, become more comfortable about it, but we're gonna let this out and get some people to see it and make a comment section.
But we have to finalize a draft.
Right. And I was wondering how that was gonna work out, how we were gonna approach that. Yeah, you guys came in and with a new view on this type, and what are we gonna do with all this stuff we went through?
Well, you're gonna go through it all.
Yep.
That's your burden, not mine.
Yep,
We're not gonna go through this again, piece by piece.
okay. That's what
That's your responsibility to come up where we are. And then if you have any
Yeah,
comments,
I'm right where you are at, I should have printed it out, I made some notes.
if you have more questions,
I don't-
again, let's handle his question.
Well, let's wait until everybody gets a copy of it.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Updated, so we're all working off what Jason has there.
Right.
That's what Jamie's on front us right now too.
Let's move along. Question?
Jamie's printing off.
We're waiting
copies.
until we get copies. We can't do anything.
You said there,
Well, we could still
we need to keep the definition of continuous somewhere, so that's not continuous, it's, so I understand, I'm not running into that. So,
Contiguous would be the proper word, I believe.
It's connected, but it doesn't, I mean, it's essentially continuous, but it's a different type of,
continuation.
Next to together.
These are all contiguous.
Okay,
They're all together. So
okay.
if those were solar panels, that's what they were, they're all together. That's
It's-
contiguous.
Same thing then, it's continuous, it's all connected.
it's,
Sharing a common border, next or together in sequence.
I would say it's a term used in land, more so than just, it's a land use term.
Okay, cool.
So it's like neighbors. They're contiguous, you're right.
And in that realm, I think that it meant that you could have 20 acres contiguous, but they might be on 2 different property owners. But it would have to be connected. You couldn't have 10 acres here and 10 acres here and call that a 20-acre site. It'd have to be connected.
Okay.
Yeah,
And there's a whole lot of the limited scale that we haven't even talked about. We kind of left that and went with the utility, commercial scale, and said at the end, we were gonna come back and figure out how to do the limited scale, what setbacks would be under it and all. So that's almost like a whole other section.
Sure, smaller scale, which would be the 20 acres.
Yes.
Is that 20 acres, just, or wait, is that, how is that, how did that boundary come about?
everything in
Like
there
a 40
is
acres?
an island, and it was Cumberland County.
That was
21 acres would be classified as a commercial scale. 20 acres and under would be limited, and 1 acre would be private.
And that 20 acres is the number that was given us in the original calculations.
We just saw no need to change it.
And so how it all started is it's taking the various counties' solar regulations that they have developed and meshing it all.
Yeah. And other counties have these type of 3 different buckets.
You're gonna have to move along. We have-
Well, I'm waiting, I think.
Wait on what?
Yeah, well, you can keep talking.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
okay.
okay, that's right, sorry.
You're good.
Okay,
So far, so good.
so number 14, I saw that there was, it's just a definition, isn't for, you know, it's a solar module, we're calling it a group of solar arrays, but standard solar module is basically a solar panel industry line. So, I don't know what that word is supposed to mean. You're talking about grouping of solar arrays, the area of a solar module is measured with the panel as horizontal as possible. So a grouping of arrays, I'm not sure what that would be, but it's not a solar module. So I started that. It's not a big deal, but if we're gonna define these things, then that's one of the things.
Will we have a recommendation what it should be?
You're saying that an array and a module are the same?
No, that's what I'm saying is a solar module is a solar panel. Those two things equal each other. So a group of solar panels may be an array, but it's not a solar module. You know what I mean? It's very, it's not a big deal. I just wanted to bring it up.
I'm just trying to clarify, figure out what you're meaning, but I guess the way I understood that was an array might be 30 panels on one tower, just whatever, and there might be 30 of those towers in one group. And so the array would be considered that 30 panel, the module would be the 30 panels. Is that not right?
There may be another definition for that, but it's not solar module.
Project area,
No,
all
that
the
was,
arrays together.
right. This was just, there was nothing on there that we had any reason to change.
Right, no, that's,
Except if we go back, why do we need this kind of terminology to protect neighbors and to establish a solar farm? That's their business, that's not our business.
Well, but the county needs regulations so that it's done right.
yeah.
Who are you to tell?
Well, this was
professional
written,
engineers
this
how to
was
do
written
that?
with
That's
the
my point.
consultation of an attorney. The county attorney was consulted on writing these.
County council.
County council.
Better be careful, I know there's an attorney around here, but attorneys don't build machines when they don't.
I can look into this.
Well, what he did,
Right.
what he did was he got,
I think it's semantics.
he got
Yeah,
from a
that's all
number,
it is.
Yeah,
That's
it's
all it is.
semantics that we don't need to get into.
but he got from a number of areas, their regulations, and then put them together. He didn't come with this all by himself.
So my question now would be, in the later on, if we decide we can simplify this and focus.
We can do whatever we want to with this.
After we see it.
That's our project, to do whatever we think needs to be done. Just that simple.
Yeah, okay, well, you kind of went into that, because it's like we're getting into things that we really don't need to be into.
Well,
Do we not need to keep limits on the solar array or the solar module?
Sure, we,
That's why we're doing this, is we're putting
We're
regulations.
gonna allow them to put solar panels out.
what we're trying to do is structure a document that will ensure that this project is done in a proper manner and maintained in a proper manner, and when it's over with, done away with in a proper manner. That's what we're trying to do.
So then we need to get some engineers in here, because that's what you're getting into business that we.
But we're also
The
trying
regulations,
to,
This is gonna be solar panels.
this big book that we have in front of us is the Jackson County Comprehensive Plan. And it lists what the county wants to see. And this was approved, gone through. And so our job with this is to write regulations that follow this.
Okay, well, you're open to do this for the next. Now, I did get your questions, and I got the voice, and I think we're getting into too many details, we don't tell farmers.
We're gonna go
Yes,
into all
yes,
the
we do.
detail we
Jackson
need
County is
to
zoned.
satisfy this panel, okay?
Thank you.
Now, if you don't wanna take the time to do that, resign and let somebody else take it.
Oh, no, I've got time to do this.
Okay, and let's get on with it.
And
Well, before we, Jackson County is zoned, and we tell farmers, ag people, anybody building a house, what they can and can't do with their property.
Right, and that's because it's the safety of Jackson County residents.
And that's
That's
exactly
what
what
we're
we're trying to look out for with this.
We're not gonna just let some
So
huge
since-
company come in here and ramrod our county. We're gonna set regulations that, if they wanna work within these regulations, they're welcome to do so.
And simplify is not a word that we should use when we're looking at this. We should be stringent.
We should have every T crossed and every I dotted.
But we're not building residential houses. We're getting into engineering, we're getting into engineering that we don't need to be into.
I don't think we're getting into engineering, we're getting into regulations that is the point of us. That's what we're
So,
here for.
That's my concern. Yeah, this isn't that, and I thought of the same thing, well, that's right, we regulate, we tell you how you're gonna do your plumbing, because we wanna make sure it's safe. But yeah, we actually went to experts and the industry, and it matches what's going on, industry matches.
I think
We're
that's
telling you-
exactly what we're asking to do, is for the industry to
Right.
match our regulations.
And vice versa. I mean, it's a,
Sure,
you gotta talk the same language, that's all.
but but the purpose there is to
Just a
protect
definition,
Jackson
really.
County residents, and this isn't gonna be a public place. OSHA, national, it wouldn't be the OSHA and National Electrical Code and engineering practices are gonna reign, and they're not gonna do something crazy and build something unsafe. If they're following codes and they're trying to make a product that.
Okay, here's where we are. If you don't like it, go dump.
Thank you.
Well, it's discussion that we've had, and we're still having discussion. That's, we're allowing them the opportunity to bring their
We
discussion.
beat that
And I
one to death.
understand.
But you don't like it, you think it's too
But
restrictive.
no, I'm gonna disagree. They were appointed to this commission, they have just as much say as the rest of us do. If we have to go backwards, then we will go backwards and
Appreciate that.
start over. I mean, this isn't gonna hit the May meeting. I mean, this is gonna take time, because we've gotta do it right. And the reason is because while we may say that a corporation or a big company or whatever is going to do the right thing, time and time again, they've proven that that's not always the case.
And that's very.
So we're writing the regulations that say, I don't trust you, this is, if you want to do this, we're gonna follow these regulations. And we will, if we need to get engineers to tell us, and if we need to get attorneys, that's what we will have to do. When we get done with this, and there's questions, we say, is this the correct engineering? Then we'll go find out if that's right before we move forward. So just to say that, well, we don't know, so we're not even gonna put it in there.
No,
That's-
I'm not saying we don't know, let's not put it in there. I'm just saying that it's unnecessary for us to get into the detail of how to.
I think with Russ, I think with a project this scale, everything is necessary for us to dive into. That's our job, is this.
Part of it is, this is fairly new technology and new processes. We don't know how it's gonna end up. So if we don't protect ourselves in the beginning, we may end up on the wrong end of things. And we're protecting the quality of life for Jackson County residents, not the interests of a major corporation. That's not why I'm here.
No, that's what I'm here for, is protect Jackson County. Jackson County residents, and I'd like to more focus on how we can make this, try to pull everybody in as much as possible. With them being good for a fact, now while we're just still chatting, we could really save ourselves a whole life. I think I'd be more comfortable if we just said, sorry, if you want to be in Jackson County, you're gonna have to design an agri-volt system. And to, so that you have grazers and you have a plan for the grass that's gonna, under, cover the fire safety. You know, want to tell them what they can do, start right off the bat. You know, you're going to build them up high enough that you can have animals and maybe hope, make hay and mow, which there'll be room for mow. But,
Well,
that
the
would,
reason we, and this is where I've kind of gone back and forth in this, is to call it an agrivoltaic system, the county would lose out on the tax, on the benefits of a tax law. Because ag use is taxed at a use value. And this system would be taxed at a market value, which is approximately 4 times greater. So if we're going to do this, then I want the landowners who choose to do this to have a dog in the fight and bump their property taxes to do this. They're greatly changing the landscape of this county. So this was part of our conversation where we had talk about the pilot, and that's the company paying everything in lieu of taxes. But I want the landowners to have a fight, or have a seat at this, you know. So if we don't allow agrivoltaic, then it bumps that up to a market value, and it's a 4 times greater tax increase.
oh, well, that's disappointing that the dog taxes got into it.
That's how it
Yeah,
benefits this county.
I never thought about tax value. I was thinking more about what my neighbors would think.
But that's the whole reason for doing this, is to benefit the county. Because it's not going
Oh, yeah.
to, the electricity's not going to
This is gonna be an
benefit.
improvement.
So we have to make sure that we get the most improvement for changing the landscape of our county.
And you just really said that again, we're changing the landscape of the county. And I think changing the landscape of the county to say, no, Jackson County, we're ranchers and we're farmers, and we're gonna try to make her fit into ranching and farming, and I'd love to see some goats out there. And we're gonna make have a new goat ranch, you know what I'm saying? We made them incorporate our rule.
Hey, you guys can
It was just a-
run through a few more of these
Yeah,
things,
sorry.
just so I'm not holding anything up. So, the battery storage, 25. The battery storage is that's strictly prohibited. I was just trying to see if there was discussions on that, or if that's something that would be handled as a separate process or something, like under a different umbrella. How's the county going to be handling?
That was, the commissioners gave us that recommendation, we saw no reason to change it, that we didn't want the batteries,
Okay.
the risk of all of that.
Okay.
But then that
I was just,
undermines the whole system. Battery technology is a big deal. It is a big deal, and it's another big answer.
It's just a great day.
Right, see, and that's the trouble. Where's the storage at?
Go right to the line.
Where's the storage at on the line?
Just goes, just like Jeffrey out there.
Right.
They have no batteries, it just goes out on the line.
Well, that's what Holton is. Holton is kind of like a little battery sitting there. That's the trouble right now with renewable energy.
Right,
Is
is
this battery technology.
So is it a viable option?
I'm not sure.
I don't think that it is.
And I was thinking that they, like he's saying, can they come back, or how do you write that, so as it improves, technology improves, we can allow it. You keep opening up to all these cans of worms.
no, I just questioned it, and then, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring all this up at the very beginning.
You haven't finished, so.
Yeah.
This is, we might as well talk about it.
Yeah, that's what, on the agenda.
And thank you. And I've learned for some of the people's ideas.
I got too many comments now. Figure out old, new,
And then on to
Right?
Well,
The comprehensive plan is,
it's a long-term plan for the county overall,
Yeah, extend maybe.
about where they want to develop, where they want to promote ag, it's about preserving it.
so was it,
It's very important to read it.
like, so what would you call it? This is
Should have been-
it's not code, it's a goal. It's the,
It's what the county wants, the direction we want to move the county in, what the county says they want.
you know, and this document is been around for,
Yeah, we just reworked, we just spent all, really what, last winter? Yeah, right at the end of last year, we went through the entire, comprehensive plan, we made any changes, or really, we all felt that pretty much the way, because I think that was done in 2001 or something like that.
so it's been updated.
2009.
2009, okay.
Wait, no, 2002.
Okay, that's cool. So, you know, we, for the majority of us who were on the board, which I think is just, me and Chris at the time, that are in this room right now, the way it's written, that's the way we all felt that this is the way the county should still, you know, push to, which is we're an agricultural county, really at the
And I think it says in there at some point, but it is written because county commissioners change very often. And if it had, just like if you said, I want to go through this comprehensive plan when we just approved it, well, this board changes, the county commission changes. There has to be a set of rules that they kind of go by that makes changes take longer, so that it doesn't just always constantly change. I mean, when it was first written back in the early 2000s, 2002, it was moved to where you had to have 20 acres to build a house. You could build it on 3, but you had to have 20, so that you couldn't put 10 houses on 80 without changing the zoning. And so it was,
Well, and
Yeah.
that's in the regulations, right? Because really, the comprehensive plan holds no, really, there's no teeth to the comprehensive plan, right?
that's in the zoning.
Right, I'm just saying that, yes, then that falls under, because that's the comprehensive plan and the regulations.
County Commission guidelines.
Yes. And so this part of the deal, this is an industrial plan that we don't have, we have a zoning for, we have a I-2 industrial zone, but we're not asking to change the zoning of these pieces of land. We're asking to put a conditional use permit. And so that's where all of this ties in together.
That was one of the questions from the survey. If we're concerned about the work of Jackson County, and we don't want to call this modern agriculture, why not just call it industrial? Why not rezone the area to industrial?
I don't want to answer that for everyone because I
You already
This
said
is
it.
what we talked about a month ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well,
That,
Let him
I'm
finish.
learning.
well, if we changed the zoning to I-2, because that's just where I was at a month ago, until I did my research, discovered that then this would be allowed, but there are very few limitations in this book on I-2, industrial 2, that we would not be, they could put whatever they wanted in that piece of land. By not changing the zoning, we could still fall under the regulations of the conditional use permit, and we would have more stipulations on what happens there.
So it's about controlling and telling them how they're going to do it. Thank you for answering my
We control everything. If somebody wants to put a hog hog barn right next to your property. They have to follow setbacks, they have to follow rules. There's a lot of things that they do.
Oh, thank you. Well, no, that's what I was gonna say, is thank you for mentioning it. That it only seems fair to me that the setback should be the same for
And that's a disagreement that you and I have, that you consider this ag use and I do not. And I will not.
oh, that's okay. I'm just saying, that when you look at definitions and you're gathering the sun and creating electricity, plants gather the sun and make food.
Where you at now, Lisa?
I've actually, the other things that I highlighted, I need to go back and look at more of the program up, so I'm good.
So you wanna highlight the modular part on number 14?
Yeah, that definition needs to change.
I don't know if we have anything in here about project area versus project extent versus.
Yeah, when he said that there was other ones online, I was just gonna maybe take a look and see how it's just definition is. Maybe see how they're calling that. That's all right.
Okay, I think we're up to my page 31, renewable energy conversion systems overlay district. What I do is read it out loud, and if anybody has any comments, when I finish the paragraph, we'll discuss any comment that's appropriate.
Is this supposed to be 31 when you set it when you print it? 'Cause you're, that's what, Jamie just handed this out.
That's where we ended, I am where we ended last meeting. Okay?
We got through
Page
the,
30.
we got through the entire thing.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
we did.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
I-
We highlighted this down here because that's the limited scale and that's like a whole nother conversation
Okay.
about the limited scale.
Yeah, because we need to go back, because part of this is we've changed some of these in this red highlighted section. They may be referencing something that's not the same anymore because we've changed it. That was in the original draft, and so we have to do quite a bit of research to make sure that that's still correct. When it says subsections 1 through 7, 8, that may not be the same because we may have changed it.
Right.
Why do I have several pages left that we haven't gone through?
Can I take a look at what you have?
Just because it was separated out that article here, like we did an addendum instead, you have the original.
Yeah, you have the original, what you're working on is that original draft, where it's in that resolution format. And we had changed to the like zoning regulation format versus that resolution format. So that's,
So this would only,
I would work off what JD just
Okay.
printed off for you.
Where you were at is essentially
Yeah, he
this
mentioned
article,
it.
you're need
I
a
didn't
single page
realize it.
sheet. Right?
Probably, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
so that's the last page. So have a review this?
That's where I think you were at with the whole format that you had, that the county commissioners gave initially. It just got separated out, so I think that's where it should,
Yeah, that's where I was.
yeah, yep,
And we've not reviewed this.
right.
hand out Article 30, Roman numerals, renewable energy conversion systems, overlay district, section 1, intent and purpose of district. The R-C renewable energy conversion overlay district is intended to ensure a regulatory means of facilitating renewable energy development by establishing designated project areas, and at the same time provide a regulatory response to the demands of neighbors and general public whose interests may be detrimentally affected by renewable energy generation and transmission operations. Any comment? Section 2, district regulations. No renewable energy conversion system shall be developed, erected, or placed in use in any area of the Jackson County zoning jurisdiction not within an approved overlay district, except that a private system may be allowed by right upon a finding by the zoning administrator that the RESC is a small, quote, personal or accessory, end quote, RECS. Comment? 1. A personal accessory RECS may be allowed by the zoning administrator through the submittal of a plan and site plan if the proposed RECS meets the following requirements. Paragraph A. A single RECS erected on an owner-occupied parcel of land for private use. B. Residential turbine tower no taller than 150 feet in height. C. Residential turbine tower setback from the nearest property line no less than the height of the turbine tower plus 50 feet. D. Residential turbine tower no closer than 500 feet from the nearest neighboring residential dwelling. E. Residential farm ground mount solar panel system no taller than 15 feet in height. F. Residential farm ground mount solar panel system setback from property line no less than the minimum parent district yard regulations. Comment? Section 3. Intensity of use relations. Except as hereinafter provided, all structures hereinafter erected, enlarged, relocated, or reconstructed shall be located upon owner-occupied parcels or within project overlay districts containing the following areas. 1. A person or accessory RECS shall be defined as 1, Roman numeral 1 acre or less for private use. 2. A limited scale energy conversion system, LSECS, shall be defined as 20 contiguous acres or less for cooperative use. The electricity created is for consumption for members in the group and not for transfer or sale to a third party except for allowance of net meter. 3. A commercial scale energy conversion system, CSECS, shall be defined as limited to no more than 2,000, numerals 2,000 acres total. The primary purpose of the electricity created is for the sale of the generated electricity. Comments?
Is relations correct?
I'm gonna change that to regulations.
Okay.
3. A commercial, well, I already read that. didn't I? Section 4. Conditional use regulations. All RECS development other than a personal or accessory use system will require submittals to the Jackson County Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners for the development plan approval and establishment of an overlay zone. Such plans shall meet detailed requirement, which doesn't make sense to Jackson County. Requirements. 2.
I see a lot of, you need to have a site plan, which makes a lot of sense to me, but I don't see that requirement of the larger stuff up here. Just a FYI, I don't know if this is to get Get
the
the,
general statement of it, and then the addendum is.
so this will
those
fall into
specific
here?
Requirements.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Does that make sense?
Thanks, Will.
I think the number 2, a development plan should be written in a style that is easily understood by the general reader. Technical terminology shall be avoided as much as possible. Detailed technical data, statistics, and supplementary information required to support the main text is to be referenced and must be current. Information presented in the form of maps, diagrams, or plans is preferred, as the general reader find it easier to understand. The maps, information surveys, and studies must be submitted as part of the conditional use permit, CUP, application, and development plan. Jackson County may adjust the standards for future projects based on considerations such as the results of monitoring environmental impact, the success or failure of remedial actions required in connection with decommissioning processes, and changing technology and renewable energy conversion systems. 3, if approved, one CUP shall be issued with respect to all tracts within the boundaries of the proposed RECS overlay district. Notice of the submission of the application for a RECS CUP shall be given by the zoning administrator to the owners of each tract of land within the boundaries of the proposed RECS and to the owners of each parcel of land located within 1,000 feet of the boundary of the proposed RECS. 4, the following uses may be allowed by conditional use permit, CUP, when submitted, reviewed, and approved by the Planning Commission and under such conditions as the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners may impose. A, solar energy conversion systems, SECS, see Addendum A to Article 30 in numerals. B, wind energy conversion system, WECS, see Addendum B to Article 30 numerals. Any other comments or any comments?
Is there on the information presented in the form of maps, diagrams, and plans, preferred, should that be required? Is that what we're doing? Putting regulations together? So should it say preferred there, so it kind of leaves it open, preferred but not required. Is it required?
Well, if it says preferred, it's not required.
Should it be?
Yes.
Preferred means we would like it that way, but it still leaves it.
Where are you at?
Section 4, number 2.
Oh, sorry. what we discussed.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Section.
The development plan, I would think it should be required. That's just my opinion, that's why I started that.
Well, shall is mandatory.
Yeah, shall be written in a style that's easily understandable.
But it says.
That's mandatory. May would be discretionary. Shall is mandatory. They have to do it.
They don't have to do it in maps, diagrams, plans, and that's what I think I would expect that to come in. I was reviewing the permit. Conditional use, I would think that it's required that you provide a site plan and maps and diagrams to do that. Yeah, you shall write it in a style that's easy to understand.
I would agree with that. I mean, you would think they have some engineering
Yeah.
drawings or something
Yeah.
that they could show up with. Like
Yeah.
that, I would think that we would want them to have that as opposed to we just.
Part of the bidding process.
Yeah.
You have to give us, you know, a certain level of detail.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
You want to change must to shall. Fine with that.
Well, I think instead of, where it says in plans, it's preferred, instead of preferred, but,
Required.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got that.
Okay, gotcha.
My question is, you want to change just the language?
So from us to shall.
Below, so.
Yeah.
I have a question about the, I guess I wasn't even thinking when we read it in section 2. Now that we get to the end where it refers to a wind energy conversion system, do we need to have anything about wind in there at all, since we have a moratorium in the county on wind?
Article 30, if you remember, was all about wind.
In the original, this is from our original regulations.
Yes, Article 30.
Okay,
And this is just an adjustment, an amendment to Article 30.
you're just adding the solar onto the things that are already in there.
Right.
I got what you're saying.
Because personal stuff is in there, and then it said, special use permit for larger.
Gotcha.
But we do have a moratorium on
Right.
wind right now, but there is still the personal side of it.
Gotcha. Yep. Cool.
Like this. On the sheet where it says, may adjust the standards for each project based on considerations such as, that's something, such as, but not limited to, you know.
On the back of this,
It's just language, so not limiting their ability to change based on defined upon considerations. We shouldn't be limited to these.
And that's what we need to do, is have
Yeah.
it technically correct, so
Yeah.
eliminate any opportunity to read it wrong, I guess.
So you're saying after such as, and add an element to?
However it words out back, just to make sure that it's very clear that it could be these, it could be very many, a bunch of other things that require a change, but it's not limited to these desires. Anyway.
What if, instead of such as, it just says, for example, this, and that's what kind of things it over. So,
What do you think about that? How to word that?
Changing technology.
How would you word that?
how that word,
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you're trying to.
Oh, I'm saying that when it talks about future projects, we changing these standards such as putting something in there not limited to, or for example, these items, it's not limited to these items. It could be any reason why Jackson County may adjust these standards. So it's just, how would you word that?
Well, such as doesn't limit.
I think if you just,
Such as simply means these are some of the things that might come up.
So,
yeah, change the aim to an or changing technology. It's a list of things that
something.
I agree that you could say such as, but not limited to. And that
There you
would-
go. There you go. But not limited to. There you go.
Oh, we don't have,
Sorry.
yeah.
Good job.
got some time left.
Well, I was gonna ask, what is the time frame for, you said something about May?
No, I'm just saying that there is no time frame. This can take 4 years if we need to.
Okay.
But for these meetings, usually when my luck gets started.
Okay.
Usually about 2.
Quite frankly.
That's taking too long, is what he says.
Well, no, I'm not talking about this
Yeah.
session, I'm talking about like, when is the goal to?
Whatever.
When this,
Because I like to
when
look
this
at
body,
this.
when this body is satisfied with the document.
The reason that, from what I understand, the commissioners tried to streamline the process for us so that we didn't have 9 people trying to put together regulations. They put together a draft and then gave it to us to go through and make changes, to look at it, to not look at it, to throw it in the trash, whatever. That's our prerogative. My thing is I want to write regulations that, whether it's today or 20 years from now, that we're covered with regulations.
Trying to get me out of here, aren't you?
No,
I will be here 20 years.
and that's the reason, I mean, that's one of the things that I think about is that my family has been in Jackson County for over 130 years, and God willing, we'll be here for another 100. So I want to see Jackson County prosper, but yet,
Responsible.
yeah, and do it, and that's why I'm here, is to have a say.
So you have no electrical background, no farm?
Yes.
You have,
And I have a personal solar system.
yeah.
Yeah, I looked at getting one 20 years ago, 40, 30 years ago, but the costs, solar panels and battery technology were just too much.
But also, I don't feel that I need to have it. I mean, that's one thing people try to use today is that because you don't have an expertise in this field, you can't have an opinion.
No, oh no, it's not about an opinion, I was just back to you made the comment earlier that solar systems are being no, they're not, this is bad. It's the cost is
Private.
viable.
I mean, what's the longest commercial solar farm that's been in operation? I don't either. But that's what I'm going at is has anybody ever seen one decommissioned?
No, yeah, that's actually no.
And to say that something's gonna happen 30 years from now when I don't even know that I'm gonna be here in 30 years. So we can't say that, oh, it's gonna be okay in 30 years. We don't know. And so we're trying to protect ourselves now
Right,
for the next generation.
right.
And
No, that's really good to have a decommissioning plan. I think that the state's getting, that is a good idea.
What is it, this is an amendment to this, what is this exactly? This overlay district?
That section 30 is in your regulations you already have in that book,
Okay,
right?
Yep.
That has nothing to do with solar regulations, right? We just added solar for KNs.
okay,
To the regulations we already have in place.
okay, so it goes back to, if we still have time, maybe. The standards of approval in section 3 of the, that would be, starts on 5. It talks about, this is where I think there's probably some meat. It talks about the detailed overall project, these property owners. Number D is what I was gonna try to do some research on, because this is an item where they have to have approval for utility for the tie-in. And that's a whole other permitting process. And so evidence of regulatory approvals and permits such as delivery shall be provided. I'm looking at that more, that might be. And then here I would say, in these letters, we talk about a site plan for all this, there is really no requirement for site plan that I saw a plan, project papers, I see, past projects, I see a plan panel installation specification. I didn't see anything about an overall site plan, and that would be something I would say probably needs to be added.
probably should know this, and there was a lot of things when we went through this, that it's addressed later on, and I don't mean, not to say that you haven't seen it, but I remember something about a site plan in here that,
I see it in here. I saw it here. And if you guys talked about I'm sure the screening is a big deal. I'm sure you guys did the screening over and over as far as.
buffering.
Yeah. So how did you guys come up to, how'd that conversation go? What was the topics?
I don't think we really had much to change on what was written. And what you'll see here is a lot of the stuff that's highlighted were things that we changed. The stuff that's not was in the original draft.
Okay.
Thank you.
So some of the plans I think that we're talking about are in like page 20, 19, 20, 21. Traffic and road maintenance plan, landscaping plan, vegetation management plan, emergency services plan.
There are 7 site plan results in this PDF document.
Okay.
So, page 8 on 6B. Is the first one.
6B or 6B?
6B. Clearly stated on the site plan and noted in the population plan. Find it.
I see it.
So there was the first one. Page 14. Number 7. Page 14, number 7.
Number 2 maybe.
Number 2.
That's the site plan of existing conditions.
Digital, physical and a digital site plan of existing conditions. Digital site plans. So that's the second time it shows up in the document. And then page 16.
15 or
16.
16? Site plan number 3? Spell out the site plan.
Okay, and this is a condition of, just go ahead and make this. Application and required documents, okay?
You want the other 2?
No, it's there. I mean, I'm seeing that that's required to get a permit, you got it right here. I should see that.
And I think the other thing, I mean, I know we've got whatever time, and I'm fine with it, but with you guys just coming on, there's gonna be things, once you go through this, and I think that we need to give you time to go through this and write down things that you wanna discuss. And then we're gonna have to go, because once we finalize this, we're gonna have to go through and vote on each topic, essentially. I mean, because if there's contention about it,
What
you have, what do you,
Yeah, standards for approval, and you have
I just didn't get it really in the terms. I'm still wrapping my head. But I agree, you know, I'm listening, I'm wrapping my head around to see what you said.
It's been a hard head for months.
Yeah, and that's not your fault, you know, we just,
And I understand, yeah,
we didn't anticipate when we started looking through these, getting 3 new members in the middle of it. So that you guys have to, you signed up to do the same thing that I did. You wanted to have an input in this.
right. Well, I want to make sure it got done too. And I still think we could go back and we could simplify a little bit. I'm not going to, I don't, what can I say?
Well, and I said this at the beginning. I wanted to separate the current project that is, everybody knows about, and these regulations. Because these regulations could have or should have been done 10 years ago, but we didn't have a reason to do it. Today, we have a reason to write regulations. So we're writing the regulations without worrying about the project, so that the regulations are in place for the county. Then if the project moves forward and we give regulations to apply for a permit, that's the next step. But these regulations are not based on a specific project.
And we're not writing these for next year.
Well, it sounds like, I'm telling you, I've got to be careful what I say. Because it's a little disappointing. No, seems like we're trying to make sure it doesn't happen. I just had to say it.
And I'll say,
Because, yeah, it's really.
everybody has an opinion on whether or not
Stuff.
that they think that commercial solar is a viable option. And do we want to use it in our county? Why not put solar panels on top of Walmart or down the center of I-70?
Thank you.
Why are we using ag farmlands to do this? There's plenty of other places to do so. It's the low-hanging fruit that it's easy, and that's why we're writing regulations.
And that's what solar fields are, they gotta cover it.
Well, in this,
I thought this is basically all cattle country out there, it's not, there's no prime farm.
Jackson County doesn't really have prime farm.
yeah, we don't have it.
So, yeah,
But
you say it's
the
low hanging fruit, it's in a great area, that's what I thought this was for the.
underlying this is the acknowledgement that the county needs other sources of income. Read the whole paper, 31.3% of the land in Jackson County is not taxed. And that's going to increase every year as the Native Americans put more and more land in trust. So this is an opportunity to get some more money into the county.
Right, and that's what I'm all about too. And it's funny, I see, I'm the small guy.
Well, we don't want to just roll over and play dead. Not going to just roll over and play dead and do whatever you want to do.
And you spoke earlier of a poll or a vote or whatever. It's allowing a small small portion of landowners to regulate what happens in the county. That's why we're writing the regulations. Because if we took a vote,
That's what I'm here for.
there may be a majority of the county people that say, I don't care about the tax benefits that's gonna come from this, we don't want it. And so, we don't have the power to put this to a vote. But that may be what needs to happen, so that the county can say, I'm gonna accept that my road's not great because we don't have any money, but I don't want this, or I do want it. I want the additional tax revenue. I'm on both sides of it because we need more tax revenue. But yet, I think there's other ways to do things. And,
Responsible way. That's what we're talking about. Being responsible for the county long term. That's what we're all.
and, I mean, elephant in the room is the federal tax subsidies to do this commercial solar is, that's down the road, that doesn't even matter, but
That's one of the things that's made it possible.
So where are you guys at on the grids? You done, you read through?
we have completely read through them. There's things in there that we didn't finalize.
We go through it line by line.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like, we haven't come to a decision on like the decibels, stuff like that. That's one thing that we're still, I don't know.
In that conversation, Dick was gonna travel to Wisconsin and visit a solar farm.
Yeah.
You see how lot it is?
Yeah. There are things in here that we're not done. We just read everything and kind of had our input, whatever. And that's where, as a group, we don't want to do that again. But by the next meeting, I mean, if you guys can read through this and say, okay, this is what I want to talk about. We don't need to talk about this one, I agree with this one, but this one we need to talk about. And that's what we need. So that you have the opportunity to.
If you're in the,
Yeah.
I got a lot of input on the emergency services side, just being a firefighter and being a driver. And I didn't see a lot there to kind of help the fire departments out. And that's my biggest thing that I was about.
Right. And I agree with that, and I don't know if that comes in the county, the commissioners' conversations with the company, or whether you put I don't know how to put them in the regs. I mean, do we put them in the regs? That's,
That's one about the agricultural system solves a lot of problems.
I just didn't know if you guys have like an ability to say that you need to put these on the two sides and four sides. Because if we get in on a fire and the wind switches, it makes its own wind, are we able to get out? Are we able to make it to the travel station? Because I know if the fire's in the fields, we want to put it out to the land that we want it. But we can't safely get in and get out. Kind of so we kind of hit us with, you know, but what kind of fencing are you guys talking about? I see barbed wire in there, not like chain.
the chain link was only around the inverters and things like the actual panels. I don't think any fencing is required.
Okay. So it would be, could be or could not be.
Yeah, and
That's not what,
That was what I,
that's
that
not
was
what you pay for.
that's what I was driving at, what kind of conversation like you guys had, the, you know, the visual or the buffering, there's several different options, you know, so, you know, you guys have got into those details, right? That's something.
and some of those visual bufferings were remediated by the setback. We increased the non-participating setback to 13.20. You don't need a 15-foot tall buffer that far away.
Well, I think look at the suggestion. Why don't the three of you go through it, write down anything that you want changed or added, and we'll get to it the next week.
Question, kind of going back to this, if you look at the northwest Jackson County, at 320, how many acres is available there? You know?
That would be measuring out each of those little open spots, so.
I didn't know if you had something you had, or,
So, just to give you an idea, each one of those townships here, one of those boxes,
yes.
has 4 sections in it.
Okay.
That helps. 640 acres. So you kind of get an idea.
Yeah. Or is it long? I mean, 3,000. I mean,
would just tell you that this 1,300, just looking at that picture, guess what? We made sure that this isn't gonna happen in Jackson County.
Well, I can tell you from the feedback letters, feedback forms,
Yeah, I read it all.
so lowering the setback would not fall favorable to the county. So, and then maybe, as, you said you agreed with earlier, it's all about protecting the
Right.
non-participating landowners just as much as it is protecting everybody else.
So, yeah, we should
Or
be
listening
focusing
to
on,
them as much as listening to them.
focusing on glare. We've got this large setback because of the line. I thought it might be because of noise and glare.
Now,
And
the setback was primarily to avoid noise bothering the neighbors, as I understood.
It's just
what are the
quality
reasons?
of private landowners. I mean,
That's why I went to visit the site to see how noisy it is.
Yeah, I can't imagine. The noise is all going to be in the transformers and solar panels.
None of us here know that. That's part of the problem. Neither Luke nor I want to just make an assumption.
Right. And then that was kind of one of those things that I wanted to see what you guys thought about. Number one was, hey, if we go and agrivoltaic, hardly nobody can complain that we've done our part. And then the second one was, instead of trying to put everything in writing, every possible, say that no, that we will go back and leave the big things open, glare, noise, lighting, that we can go back as they count as a commission and make changes. How do we, instead of trying to put everything solidly in writing, we leave a panel of experts or a panel to address issues after the install.
because then if it's,
So if there's glare, that you won't.
right, but
know
if you
that-
address it in the beginning, then there's no problems with it. But if you try to go back later and say, all right, we found out that this is a problem, and it's gonna take 5 years to fix it. And when it could have been stopped in the beginning.
And I'll point out to you the opinion letters of the solar survey. That was one of the ones that the lady had a picture. And man, it looked like those solar panels were a quarter mile away. But that picture has some pretty good glare in their backyard. That they were complaining about the glare from these.
And so that's why we put a quarter-mile setback on.
And, but see, it didn't do anything. There's still this
I
glare.
don't think with that picture, you can tell how far that is.
No, oh no, I'm just saying,
I mean,
it looks
it
like
could
it's
have
a long
been-
way away.
Within 10 feet away.
Yeah, and so that made my point that a really large setback isn't going to necessarily
But it might minimize.
solve
It
that.
might, it's not gonna solve it.
Right. I mean, a quarter mile, even if there is glare at a quarter mile, there's probably gonna be more glare at 500 feet.
It's crazy. Yeah. So you wouldn't know those issues until it was sitting on the ground. Then what do we have, we need to build in a vehicle that we can go back. If it takes 4 years, we can go back and get it done. Even if it's doing that.
Or why not be more restrictive to start with and then go back and allow, because we have that in the addendum, that if technology changes, we can go back and say, all right, you can,
Well, no, that is a good part there.
I believe we also have in the regulations that if you do it following everything and there is a problem, it can be revisited and we can
And then it's
up the standards or whatever we need to do to address that issue.
I mean, talking about glare, talking about distance, I mean, really, these panels in the sun, they all kind of move the same day in, day out, right? And you can take the elevation civil drawings and say, okay, that's valley, there's gonna be glare around, you know, it takes a while. I mean, you definitely look at that if you wanted to, because there's no tree berm that's gonna stop the glare from shooting up the hill up to the house up there that's a mile up the road. And you can definitely do that as part of the approval process, if you so wanted to do it. You know, there is a way to estimate if there's going to be glare that affects people just based on the elevations of the ground. There's an avenue for that too, if you want to go down that.
We're trying to write all these regulations, but we don't have to. If we had the power to put it to a countywide vote, let's do that and see who wants this.
But if we put it to a vote, the vote of yes, we still need to do a regulation.
Yeah, I think the
But at that point,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, we're doing these to,
Well, the county will have a vote.
Yeah.
That's what the public hearings is.
well, they just tell us their
They can
opinion.
take it on the floor, they can send it to the floor.
Right, but it's
Make it
still up
as
to,
easy as we can.
still up to the nine of us.
But in the majority of, actually, the majority of the survey were neutral to positive.
Yeah.
There was only a couple of people, which literally sent you people that survey, I don't know if you guys looked at
All right.
I have-
misinformation.
Well, the-
And
Just the positive comment forms that we've received are from leaseholders. Very few positive comment forms we've received from non-participants.
Right. Yep, and it's new, and they wanted to outlaw cars from cars. They looked at us.
But it's, I mean, this is not,
Yeah, you know,
is it sustainable?
People are automatically, nobody, it's human nature to resist change.
I mean, one of the questions that I have with this entire project is, it says it's a 30-year term, and then it's gonna tear it out. Well, who in their right mind is gonna go through the work, put all the infrastructure in, and build this thing, and then in 30 years, tear it all back out?
No, yeah, where did that come from?
That's what they say.
Is that what they said? I felt that, yeah, because I've been.
So we're gonna reclaim all the ground in 30 years and tear out all the, why would you go to the investment if it wasn't for the federal tax subsidies?
Well, I think the 30 years is the estimated life of the town.
Right, but then why wouldn't you
But
put new
individuals,
cables up?
yeah, they put, of course, it's gonna stay there
So,
as long
but
as they have.
that's the selling point, is that it's gonna be 30 years and then we're gonna reclaim the land. I don't buy that.
Well, but
I think-
the 30 years is if they don't want to go on beyond 30 years, then they'll have to take it out.
But that's the selling point, is that this is only a 30-year program, and I don't buy that. This is the life of our county.
Well, I never thought it was a 30-year program. I figured it'd be there as long as they can provide land.
But that's not.
That's just good business. You got all that infrastructure, why would you take it out? You can continue to sell power.
That's, I agree with that,
It's
but that's not what's being,
I think that that's a misinterpretation.
how you say.
That it's in 30 years, technology is change.
Yeah.
Technology is going to change. Hey, it's not going to be solar panels in 30 years. Might be some saltwater ocean buckets. You know what I'm saying? And so they're saying, we know this technology can't change faster in 30 years.
And so that's what we're trying to do, is
I got it. I'm gonna
protect
look at it.
Jackson County from being the scapegoat or the guinea pig for the future. I mean,
We have disposal stuff in here.
yes.
I'm gonna reread the statement about that, the decommissioning in the 30 years. You gotta say, I didn't read it as, it's gonna be this, decommissioning is an option.
Is there anything in the fire fire code that they're talking about as far as solar, areas and fire? Because there used to be a field that has one entrance now, and you're saying that there are some potential fire code, is there anything that they talked about that at all?
I haven't got to do it because the original regs that I read, there wasn't a lot that I felt that was there to protect the emergency services. No, our equipment needs to go up.
Yeah, we put
So are you talking more like you're concerned that the allocation of money to the fire reserves?
No, it's just,
You're saying the training and everything?
because when you
build
the panels are new,
Right.
it's a new problem.
Right.
Nobody really knows exactly what to expect. The couple guys that I talked to, have, you know, they said that the grass fires happen regularly around these people's, because they ignite the grass. But the equipment, the training, you know,
I think that's,
Yeah,
we put that in.
I believe that. I don't know the last one.
It's in one of the plans, the fire management plan.
That's required by said company to train fire departments.
just once, or is it like every year?
I thought it was I don't know, I don't want to say for sure, but I know it's in here. And maybe that's something we need to look at, that it needs to be a yearly.
Well, it's something we were comfortable with because we didn't know if he had specific things that you wanted in.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
also,
that's the best way to put it.
It's in under I, and any specialty response equipment and training required will be provided, updated, and replaced by the operator as needed and at the operator's expense. That's just one thing that's in there.
but I think that somebody from the fire department does good.
Yeah, you got some, like I said, you got some ideas, let us know.
I'd like to see that training happen on a yearly basis, because if it happens once at the beginning, companies change, volunteers change, and then it's up to the chief to keep that training going and to move along with the technology. If things change, sites change, shut-offs change, or whatever, but if we could keep it at least a yearly training, that would be huge to us. Because it's not just the department that you're putting the panels in, we all work with each other. Right, just like last night, we had 7 departments on the fire. I'm gonna need to have a training opportunity for my district that multiple credits would be. This is called the all.
It really training would be wide.
Some of that,
Yeah.
some of that goes back to the not having things growing underneath it that's a fire hazard.
Right,
Weed barrier and rocks doesn't burn.
yeah, it doesn't soak up water. And then runoff.
Weed barrier.
Yeah.
But there's, I mean, it calls right out, that there has to be engineered plans.
That's what we're talking about, is managing the
Right,
runoff.
exactly.
Right. So I mean,
And that was another one of the points.
And the other thing is that they changed the scape of the land to accommodate panels and commercial activity. Is it gonna change our access points? Because like if this neighbor does it, he wants to do solar, but then we've always used his farm road to get to the back, if he's always burning brush or something. Are we still gonna be able to get through to get to the next piece? Because there's not a mile over at the next piece. And then we got, in our area, we got 2 creeks crossing Silver. And we got railroad tracks, I mean, we got a lot of obstacles. We don't have mile sections and other sections, so if this guy's doing it, are they gonna close everything off and build panels over our access? If we always use it. Is there gonna be a way for us to get around this?
You're the fire department that mainly deal with it, you can do it, right?
Yeah, on the chief.
So part of the site plan should be a fire access.
The training and access are 2 of my biggest things.
Which are-
Because if you guys cram all the panels in between, like the blue plane, whatever's underneath them, if it doesn't burn, we don't have to get around it. But if it does, is there gonna be alleyways set aside so that we can, because we can only carry so much hose out of grass. I mean, 100-foot hose is one. We carry 150 on one wheel and 100 on the other. But if your alleyways or your modulars are
so big that 100 foot isn't gonna reach in there, then it's all paper. So I was just seeing if you guys had anything every so often has to be accessed.
I don't think it specifically says that in there, and that's where I was at that point, was wondering whether that is in the county's, the commissioner's discussions, or whether it's in the regs. It's a good point. If it needs to be in here, then we'll put it in.
Yeah, it needs to be addressed in the site plan. Sort of like, there's so much, I can't remember everything.
And a lot of
I
this,
don't know like you guys.
the word, when we're writing these regulations, because there's a project on the horizon, that they're forcing us to do this. Had we wrote these before, it might have been different, because Dealey Fire might not have been involved. It could have been Dennis or whatever, because this project is out there, Dealey Fire is involved. And so, yeah, we're writing these because of that. And I think that there's a particular location in this county that, if this was gonna go forward, would meet all of the things that we're doing. I don't wanna see this thing strung out for 10 miles, here and there and everywhere, and just wanna, if it were to happen, that doesn't look good. So it's hard for me to think about just the regulations without thinking about the project that's out there. And I wanted to,
Should we say that? Makes sense.
Yellow, review that, yellow is changes that you guys made.
Yeah.
Blue is removed,
Move.
just removed. I seen some other places where there's lines on.
no,
Move in question,
Move the question.
yeah.
go back to it, like
You
that's
can
the
go back
decibels.
to-
Removal has been out.
Okay.
You took
It's-
it
No,
out.
I'm
Yes,
saying
strike
that's
through.
covered.
Right, it was struck through and is removed in this copy.
So, okay, if you have something blue that is also struck through at the same time, is that, eight?
So
Did
blue
you
is something
guys-
we're gonna go back to.
Because you guys maybe went back to it and decided not to do that?
I don't remember what we said on that.
And it might have just gotten caught from the, where you highlighted it. Or maybe,
Blue is purple somewhere too. That's what I,
On the back
Yeah,
page,
the
red.
ADHD accepts such, yeah, we just, you guys decided.
The last-
to
that's
take
what's been
that.
struck, not go back.
so that's been struck.
No,
Yeah.
No,
that is, we need to go back and make sure that those are referencing the correct provisions, because some of those may have been changed.
Right.
Reworded, moved, section 2 may now be section 4, because we added something into it.
Very good.
And I haven't taken the time to go back and check.
Well, I suggest we call it a night.
I have your packets for the next meeting, that will be on your way out.
When is the next meeting?
That's the
Second.
regular meeting.
Regular.
Oh, it's-
Second.
we're on, we don't have a work session, we're on the regular.
Yeah.
That was regular.